Well, hi there, empowered ladies. Thank you for being back with Mari.Trilogy podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Sabrina Hernández Cano, a certified registered dietitian for over 30 years. We're here to discuss nutrition, especially for us women. She has a new book out, The ORAC Diet. I am dying to dig deep into what that diet is. She has many books out, but we're so excited to learn more about this new book and the ORAC diet. So, Sabrina.
Thank you, Mari. Thank you. I'm very excited as well. So the ORAC diet, first, what does ORAC stand for? So it's oxygen radical absorbency capacity. And what it is that in the late 80s, I mean, I've been a dietitian since many, many years, but in the late 80s, I was fascinated with a Chinese doctor called Dr. Gao. And he was doing great work in USDA. That's where he right from China, he went to work for the USDA and then the National Institute of Health. And he came in with a concept that I don't think the United States was quite ready for. And he was saying, I mean, we know that, an orange has vitamin C. That was, 100 years ago, we discovered vitamins in our foods and minerals. So he wanted to go beyond that. He said, these colors in these foods have actual value. And I propose that we put them underneath a microscope. So he started taking foods and like blueberries and actually evaluating them and creating the ORAC scale. So we have today, it's nothing new. This man started working in the late 80s, early 90s, and discovered and gave actual values. So everybody thinks about blueberries. Well, blueberries and all the berries are between 4,000 and 9,000. But what if I told you that oregano, for example, has 200,000 on the ORAC scale in terms of antioxidants? And what if I told you that, for example, pomegranates have 10,000? So I can now talk to you about these values and create a synergy so that if you're eating steak, which we all know has the potential to have toxins. And what are toxins? Toxins are basically free radicals. So if this is your cell and it's nice and healthy and you have a toxin because of pollutants, and these come from the environment, from alcohol, from even too much exposure to the sun, tobacco, and many of the foods that we eat are also considered overtime toxic. Like, let's go back to red meat, for example. Too much of that we know can cause colon cancer. Foods that are processed, nowadays we take the nitrites out of our hams and of our turkeys. Well, we eat these foods on a regular basis, right? So what if we create synergy where you can have steak, but then you can have something bright and beautiful? See, the Argentinians have it right because they eat tomatoes, which have lots of lycopene, which helps prevent prostate cancer. Right. We've seen all this research now that these foods, these colors, they all have names, as xanthins, and that's for the blues. They help to remove the toxins off of the cell. So the idea is that you bring into your lifestyle lots of these antioxidants, and that's what the book is about. So in my other book, What to Eat and How, Que Como y Como, it was a wonderful book because it goes through body composition. It helps you lose weight. It talks about so many things. It talks about my patient and I, sitting down for many years. Everything that we used to discuss with the patient is in that book. But still, people would tell me, but what do I eat? So even though that one has the title, this one has 365 breakfast, 365 lunches, 365 dinners, and 365 snacks. There is no excuse, and you will be pairing foods synergistically so you have very potent antioxidants. So you can fight the free radicals that cause aging, especially for us women as the years progress. I mean, we need these antioxidants even as children. In puberty, for example, we need vitamin C and we need vitamin E more than ever. But we also need the richness of the color. It's such a strong metabolic time. Everybody talks about menopause, but what about our girls going through puberty? Right. That's also a very high, intense metabolic time. And our body welcomes these nutritious antioxidants and colors. And that's what I have here for you today. I have a combination of things I want you to taste.
That's amazing.
And I want you to start including in your diet on a daily basis. My favorite, and I start with this one every morning, is pomegranate. Now, pomegranates are pricey. My patients tell me a pomegranate can run me $6. So my little trick is that you buy a bottle of pomegranate juice. And, I'm very cognizant that some people can have diabetes. Some people are watching their blood sugars. So you're not going to drink 8 ounces of pomegranate juice.
I see.
And it is also pricey. It could run you $10, $12 a bottle. Mm-hmm. What you're going to do is you're going to have shots of pomegranate, right, in the morning. Hold on to this if you can. So pomegranate, like I said, is very potent, very high in antioxidant. About 10,000 is what it runs. But oregano, right, is in the 200s. It's a very strong oil. You can have it in capsules as well. But what I do every morning is I drop one. And if I'm going to get sick or I feel like I have, exposure or my immune system has been a little bit down or I'm going to travel, I'll do 2 drops. So what you do with that is you have to drink it really fast. Just 1 drop is enough. And what you're going to do is you're just going to chase it. Like if you were doing tequila. So cheers.
Salud.
Chase it. And that way,
delicious.
It is delicious if you have just 1 drop. You have to be careful not to do like my mom. She did the entire, she did the entire thing. That would be a huge mistake because you will burn your throat.
Well, that was delicious, by the way. That was awesome. And there's a lot of concept and myths that when I turn my lifestyle and eating habits around, they force you need to eat legumes and vegetables and fruit. And I'm thinking to myself, well, a lot of the fruit has a lot of sugar. So it's choosing the right thing to eat, correct?
And the amounts. So in nutrition, you can't just have quality without quantity. And that's where our big mistake is. That just goes hand in hand with the high elevated BMIs that we have in the United States. And, for me, it's all about budget. We have high BMIs in the United States, but we also have bankruptcy. We have people that don't know how to budget. They don't know how to budget money, and they also don't know how to budget the amount of food. We are all like a gas tank. We have certain amount of carbohydrates, certain amount of proteins, and certain amount of fats that we need. And the key is to make sure we balance it all in moderation and have a variety of foods. And people think they really need to have lots of protein. Well, what happens when you have an excess of protein is you're going to burn your kidneys out. And right now, the villain is carbohydrates.
And I have a question regarding the toxins and the antioxidant fruits that you mentioned pomegranate in. I've always heard blueberries were like really high. Now I guess
yes, they are.
They're high, but there are other better ones.
Well, the berries will be the highest. Pomegranate being one of the highest in the ORAC value with the 10,000. All of the berries are wonderful. And the idea is to have a variety of these foods that are very colorful. They're all going to provide, the future, Mari, is going to be where we're going to use food as medicine. We're not going to wait to get sick. We're going to be on more of a preventative approach. And I think that is where we're getting to. We're getting closer to saying, what I put in my mouth is important. We're not being mindless anymore about it. We're actually thinking about it. We're waking up in the morning. Right now, I think we're going through when I see, social media, I see an excess of supplements, for example. And I think we're going to get away from that. I think we're going to get away from popping pills. And I think we're going to go into realizing that food has power, more power than a capsule. Remember, a capsule is very processed. It's manufactured. It's chopped down. It's so, if I can bring a little bit of the magic that there is in this pomegranate, in ginger, in the cloves. So talking about cloves and cinnamon, for example, these are spices that I'm talking about that are actually anti-inflammatory at a very high potent level. So one of the things I do at 4 or 5 in the afternoon I have several combinations. One of them, it could be green tea and a piece of dark chocolate. That is magic. Everybody tells me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they want to eat their entire refrigerator. They get this angst. They want to just eat their entire cupboard of junk food. So if you want to curb that anxiety, try green tea. It'll give you a pep. So if you want to go to the gym, if you want to go running, if you want to go walking, swimming, you're going to have energy to do it because green tea has that bit of caffeine, but it is so powerful and antioxidant. A glass of green tea, a cup of green tea can give you almost 2,000 on the ORAC. And the dark chocolate, get ready for this, is 20,000. So now you're getting a little bit of sugar from the dark chocolate. The secret is 70%. A lot of people don't like the 70%, but you get used to it. But it's delicious with the green tea, and you will curb your appetite. You will have energy to finish your day, and you will have a powerful antioxidant. So we're getting away from all this alcohol that is so damaging for the liver, and we're getting into more of, fun things that you can drink that are actually good for you. So for example, I wanted you to see how beautiful.
And it is dark chocolate, not cacao, correct?
Yes, cacao. It would be cacao.
Cacao is very good.
That's the one.
It's super bitter, but it's very good.
70% is not as bitter as a 90%. So what you're having here is what I call my afternoon cocktail. When I don't do the green tea and the dark chocolate, I'll do this. Cheers. Cheers. So this is my favorite. And I prepare this for me and Giovanna, my office manager, which I love dearly. And we need it at that time. So this is after a day of seeing patients. I'll have cloves in warm water with hibiscus leaves and cinnamon stick and a tad of honey. So it's just a wonderful, it's our cocktail for the afternoon. So taste it. Tell me what you think.
Oh my God, it's delicious.
It's very aromatic, but the beauty of it is that we're running into the 200s of antioxidants. So now you're doing something good for your liver. Now you are, in the anti-inflammation, now you are in the antioxidant. Now you are fighting those toxins that perhaps you had, because of environment during the day. So this is doing good for your body. And the recipes that I have here are super simple. There are food combinations that you can put together in less than 20 minutes. It's nothing fancy. I've done lots of fancy recipes for companies that I've worked for other books that I've written, but these had to be my style, the way that I put things together. So it's great combinations. It's fun. Foods that always will have high ORAC values so that you're constantly fighting toxins and you're in this anti-inflammatory, state of being. So it tastes very smooth, right? It's delicious.
It's very light, but at the same time, very aromatic.
Yes. And you can put mint leaves in it as well. If sometimes what I like to do is put some iced mint leaves and put it in the blender, and then I have like a frappe of this. It's just so delicious, so beautiful. And it's, I leave these days, I leave the alcohol when I'm out, when I'm, just not every day you can, because it's not good for your liver. So this is good for you. This is actually the opposite of what alcohol, which is very toxic actually for your body, would do. So that would be.
So again, this is hibiscus leaves.
Cloves, which are top in the spices. They're in the 200,000 on the ORAC value. Wow. And I have them all here. I actually put all of the foods in a list where you could see exactly the numbers so that you can get inspired. See, like that. It's in an actual graph. Nice. So that you can see the actual different values of every food. Spices being at the very, very top. So that would be very important. And then we have groups of different foods. The more color, the better. So when we look at the kale, the spinach, those foods, and we'll see those in the kitchen because I've prepared for you to see those, have different values. And a combination of all of these numbers is what you want to be aware of. It's not like you have to be counting. There is no specific amount of antioxidant that you should have for the day. Nothing has been established. I actually foresee that in the future, there will be more research with that and that there would be a recommendation. Just like we have daily value recommendations for vitamins and minerals, I do foresee that in the future, more scientists will get together, give the importance of where antioxidants are in our foods, like they do in China, like they do in India. I think we're going to have that influence in the United States as we move forward and we give the respect that we should to food and look at food as actual medicine that can be preventative. Because if we create an environment for our children since very early on to eat a variety of foods that we are aware have these powerful antioxidants, then they will feed their children that way. And what has happened is that, our generation, unfortunately, was the initiation in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s of packaged foods. So a lot of the children that have these, diseases today, that we don't know where they're coming from, the ADDs, the neurological issues, the autism, this is perhaps needing more research and asking the question, what have we fed our systems for the last, 30, 40, 50 years? How has our behavior been with alcohol? Alcohol, I tell people, you want to compare alcohol to the blue thing that you clean your windows with, because that is what you are putting in your body.
Oh, wow.
And that changes everything. When I tell you that alcohol is artificial, it's not what your body knows how to absorb. And that is why we, I think, have so many metabolic diseases that people don't even understand, and autoimmune diseases. So when you ask me, I love the question that you asked me about, what should we be talking to women in the age of menopause and as we age? Well, for one, we should be taking inventory of how much alcohol we're drinking. That's number one. And number two is how many packaged and processed foods are you putting in your body?
Well, the other thing too is the fast life that we live today. Everybody works. And then the easiest thing for young couples and their children is to go through that drive-through. But wherever it is, and that is the worst thing you can do.
Yes, but it's a habit that we can change. Because, for example, in the book, I create menus that you can actually prep in less than 2 hours for the whole entire week. And you can set them up in your refrigerator. Meal prepping will become the future. Because if you really care about your body and you really care about what you're putting in it, it needs a little bit of dedication. Just like everything in life. If you want your makeup to come out good, you have to dedicate some time. You're not going to run and do it in the car. If you want your hair to look right, if you want your skin to be right. So, I mean, we're looking, I see that again, and I see this all the time. People take so much care about the outward, what clothes are they going to wear? They spend thousands of dollars on their shoes, on their jewelry. But what are we doing in terms of behavior for our insides? Are we walking? Are we doing yoga? Are we doing Tai Chi? Are we relaxing? And my favorite one of all, are you using your mind, in a very powerful form? So one of the things that I talk to my patients, the cortisol. So the other day I was actually at a party and I was sharing a piece of cake. We were celebrating two wonderful ladies' birthdays, and it was time to have cake. And I have a way to eat cake. I have the first one, I enjoy it tremendously. And the second one is, wow, even better. But on the third one, I remind myself that each teaspoon's about 60 calories. You have 45 from fat and you have, about 15 or 20 from sugar. So that makes about 60 calories per teaspoon. So at 2, it's 120. And then on third one, I'm already thinking, I already know what this tastes like. So the rest of it, how am I going to feel 5 minutes after eating this whole big piece of cake that someone else decided that I should have this big? So I'm very mindful when I eat, and I make love to that 1 teaspoon. And trust me when I tell you, it's like sex. You have to, at some point, finish and say, okay, we're done. Let's go off and eat, or let's do something else. So food is like the same way. You enjoy it, but I see mindless eating with cake or sugar or anything. And so, yes. And so this lady that was sitting next to me and eating her cake and already going through the second, she wanted a second piece. And I asked her, but are you really enjoying it? Do you really, really like it? And she couldn't even tell me because she was eating it so fast. Meanwhile, I'm still on teaspoon number 2 going, oh my God, this is so delicious. So I think we need to slow down. I think we need to recognize that, cake is going nowhere. We're all going to be celebrating, birthdays, and we're all going to having a good time. And if you eliminate sugar for a little bit, but eventually it's going to creep back up at you because you either have a grandchild or you have a birthday yourself, or you're going to, you have fabulous desserts, and if you travel the world and you like to eat, sweets, you're going to want to eat them. You just got to know how to eat it, in moderation and little bits, and then you'll be fine, so.
Well, as you know, I've been a diabetic for a very long time. I was diagnosed when I was 10 years old, and I'm not that young anymore. And one of the things that I know today is my eating habits that have allowed me to get to where I am today, having diabetes for 50 years and have no complications, because I am very cognizant of when I sit down to eat, what I eat, and how much I eat. So that, I think now you explaining all these things to me is like, wow, it makes so much sense, because I go out with my girlfriends and we drink and we eat, but I'm always the only one in the group that eats the least, doesn't eat all the food, and makes the right choices.
That's what I call an empowered woman. See, you are an empowered woman. So I love the fact that your podcast is
actually, I was doing something right. I need to.
You have done great.
Work a lot.
And I want to congratulate you because, that balance is not easy to achieve. And you've had to, empower yourself with diabetes, and a lot of education came from that. You had to learn how to count carbohydrates, how to make sure that you have enough carbohydrates, because if you don't get enough sugar, you can have a low sugar. So it's finding that balance, and everything.
There are people like you that
thank you.
People like us that suffer from the disease and teach us how to eat properly.
And to also not villainize. I think poor carbohydrates are being villainized right now. I remember early on when, fat was villainized. Remember the fat-free era and the fat-free cookies, and then they added all the sugar. So there are, times, decades where, for whatever reason, we villainize a certain macronutrient. I find that the future might be villainizing protein, and I'm going to tell you why. I have seen people come to my office eating 4 times the amount of protein that they should be hitting their kidneys up with. Those people are going to end up with kidney disease. So I want to remind people that carbohydrates are not the devil. Carbohydrates are necessary. I also want to remind people that fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and certain dairies are carbohydrates. And so it's managing those carbohydrates in a balanced manner that is important to learn. And I also think that the future holds for people sitting down and wanting to figure out, how many carbohydrates do I really need? I mean, trust me, 30 years ago, I had to sit down trying to explain this to people, and they just did not want to hear it. But I get now people saying, no, please tell me how many grams of protein I need. How many fat grams do I need? I remember we worked together many years ago in cardiac. I worked in cardiac rehab at Baptist, and then I worked in your department in marketing with Baptist International, flying all over the world. And that was very exciting. But those were very difficult times for somebody like me educating people, because I don't think that people were ready for the message.
Especially the Latin community, we tend to eat a lot of carbohydrates. Everything is, every food we eat has to have a carbohydrate added to it.
Many of the Latins, and it's because of where we come from, and it's because of the availability at the time of what you can find, and also that perhaps maybe meat being more expensive. So to that, I say that you start little by little, and you start, if your plate is going to look like rice, beans, and plantains, you don't have to have 4 plantains. You can bring it down to 2. You don't have to have 2 cups of rice. You can have 1 cup of rice and 1 cup of beans, or do 1 cup of beans and half a cup of rice. But all this measurement that I'm saying right now, in my mind, I'm thinking, are you 6 feet tall? Are you 6'4"? Are you 5 feet, or are you 4'11"? Because it goes with your height. It goes with the time of your life too. Also, who are you? Are you an athlete? Are you running? Are you playing tennis? Are you active? You get to eat more when you're swimming. Look at Michael Phelps. He gets to eat, 10,000 calories a day. But if you're not moving, if you're not exercising, If your lifestyle is sitting behind a desk, you have no business overeating. You need to bring it down. And also, as we get older, science has told us the only research we really have on longevity is if you eat less, you live longer, because we're not raising the kinetic temperature of our body. So that's what causes earlier death. So the less we eat, I have no quorums telling somebody you need to eat less, because I know I'm helping them live longer. So I don't feel bad by telling somebody you are eating way too much. And the 20 extra pounds you have on your body, yes, your metabolism slows after menopause, but it actually has to do with the fact that you are accumulating excess calories, and even 100 calories extra, just 100 on a daily basis. That could be just an apple extra that you decide I'm going to eat a day. When you finished your day, you eat just anything, just 100 calories less is 10 pounds in 1 year. 200 calories extra on a daily basis is 20 pounds in 1 year. So you need to be conscious of those excess calories that we're mindlessly eating or drinking, because a lot of people that I see, patients that tell me, I really don't eat a lot. And then their weekends are flooded with alcohol. And I'm like, well, you make up for it in your drinks. Also, I think that that is a travesty when you drink with soda or juices. People think, oh, because juices are so healthy, I'm going to have juice with my meals. That is the biggest error you can probably have in nutrition, because now you are hitting up that pancreas with way too much carbohydrates, way too many grams of carbs, and your pancreas is having to deliver so much insulin to bring that down. And eventually it gets tired, and that's where that metabolic diabetes type 2 that we see today is all about. You just have a tired pancreas, that's all. It's a pancreas that just gives up. Because if you start as a child having juices and sodas with your meals, and then as an adult you bring that habit into your lifestyle, you're going to end up beating up that pancreas to a pulp, where you end up with type 2 diabetes. This is not a genetic diabetes. This is a diabetes that is actually induced by you, your habits, your culture, what you're surrounding yourself with. And so sedentary lifestyle, not moving it. So that is where it's all about. And going back to the story about the lady with the cake and the party, I remember when she starts feeling so guilty about eating her second piece, and all of a sudden she starts saying, things about how horrible she feels about herself. And this is where I ask people, 5 minutes after you eat, just remember 5 minutes after you eat, how are you going to feel? And I could see her cortisol levels going up of how guilty she felt. And I said, what will kill you faster than the 2 pieces of cake you ate and all the sugar is the cortisol that's rising because you feel so bad about it. So I think mental health, psychologists are my best friends. Of all the doctors out there, I think the psychologists bring to the table, what we need to put all this in place, which is a healthy mindset. If you don't have a healthy mind, and you have a constant negative thought about the food you're putting in your mouth and the fact that you didn't exercise, that will hurt you more than the actual not exercising and the actual sugar you can put in your body. So I worry a lot about the cortisol in my brain. And whenever a negative thought comes, a great one comes right at it. So I teach my patients to do that. You don't feel good about something, bring something that you love. Develop yourself, do something. And that is where I began learning ciao, bella, and Italian. I was going through, I broke my foot. I couldn't be as active. And this was in February of this year. And I thought, what would make me so happy in a year to be fluent in another language? So you see, you have to train your mind. And I think a lot of women don't know how to do that. And they beat themselves up. So when I have somebody in front of me, and I'm trying to help them change behaviors and habits, I evaluate that for the first 10 or 15 minutes, and I see where it's at with them in terms of negativity and themselves. And let me tell you, with food, there is so much negativity. I'll go out to lunch or dinner with friends, and all I hear is about how fat I am, how, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm guilty. I can't believe I'm eating this. I can't believe tomorrow I'll start the diet. And I think the worst thing anybody can do is have, the diet mentality. As dietitians, we really hate diets. We don't like them. We like meal plans. We like eating healthy. We hate restrictive. And we can't stand it when we hear somebody, say, oh, I'm doing this diet or I'm doing that diet, or because we know then that there's more behind that. There's a lack not only in the food, but there's something else that's lacking in their life. And that's why I love psychologists so much, because they help me help my patient put it together. So I think you should have a psychologist on your next podcast. And I have a few I can recommend.
Oh, that would be great. I would love.
One of my favorites, I'll mention her right now, is Mari.trilogy. One of my favorite women, empowered, and helps me help my patients.
This is all about women and empowering our empowered women that watch us religiously. They text me and they message me and when are you having your next podcast? They're so informative and there's so much collaboration. Speaking about menopause, because, it's important. And one of the questions in all of the podcasts that we've had is when we touch on, so what herbs are good for menopausal women that will help us, not only with the typical symptoms, the hot flashes and the not sleeping, but also the mental side of.
I will tell you that in terms of herbs, the ashwagandha has to be one of the very best. But I also will be very clear with you in letting you know that women need more than ever to speak to their gynecologist about hormone replacement therapy. Now everybody can do hormone replacement therapy because some women have gone through cancer, but then they need to find other alternatives there. But there is this lack, I think, of conversation amongst us, like if it was something terrible. For me, menopause has been the most beautiful time of my life. I've enjoyed all of the different eras, but I think menopause, there was, I read so much about it, but there was an author who once said that when you reach menopause, your creativity as a woman is just as heightened as when you were a child. And if you tap into the things you loved to do as a child and how you loved to play as a child, you will find yourself in a situation in your late 40s and 50s creating the best life you've ever created. Mm-hmm. So for example, for me as a child, it was learning languages and it was actually traveling. And in the middle of puberty, I told my mom, I don't want a quinces party. I want to go travel. And I had a cousin who actually took me through every single country in Europe. I had the fortune of having my cousin, Marlene Jimenez. I love her so much. She said, I'm going to ask your mom if she'll let me, and she went with friends. It was a group of girls in their 20s and early 20s. And I was 13, 14 years old. And we set off to visit Europe. So what is it that I want to do now, through this time of beautiful change in my life? I want to travel. And I think so many women, I hear that from so many women, they want to explore the world. Yeah. They want to do cooking classes. They want to learn new languages. And I think we share that as women. And that's what a lot of women get divorced or separated, because they see that perhaps men who have the opposite desires, they want to, just get into a chair. They want to watch TV. They want to relax. They don't want to go out. And I think menopausal women, they do. Many of them, not all of them, not all of them. The smart ones know how to keep up with you and say, you know what, I think I'll join you so I don't lose you. But I think it's very important that if women have men, and I've talked to so many patients that have told me my husband just doesn't want to do that. And if your husband, your partner doesn't want to do that, you need to do it on your own or with friends. Exactly. And it's okay. And there's nothing wrong with picking up and going away for 2 months or 3 months. If your children are raised and you are able to do it, instead of saving, money to do something for perhaps more of your children or whatever, I don't know, just allot funds for you, especially during menopause. And I think, and I talk to friends and I'm talking to patients all the time of this age, and they're coming into their own and they're finally saying, this is my time. I am going to take the time out to go do yoga or to relax or to do absolutely nothing.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you
Whatever
want.
it is that you want.
It's time to play again. Because if you've noticed, we've spent all of our life trying to be right with school, trying to be right with the government, with your mother, with your father, with your husband, with your children, with society, with your job.
Superwoman, and it doesn't exist.
Exactly. So then one day you just say, wait a second, I'm already okay with all those, entities. Now I'm going to be okay with this temple, with this entity. And you know what? Whoever wants to can follow me. Whoever doesn't, so be it.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned on hormone replacement therapy, because I knew that was, something was off with me personally. And I'm going to share my personal story. And I talked to my friends, and when I got into hormone replacement therapy, this has been a life changer. I mean, it was like a switch. And this is like what I told all my friends. I go, you have no idea. It was like entering a dark room, and then all of a sudden, boom, the light came on.
Everything, libido,
Everything.
the skin, the hair, the enthusiasm for life. I asked my gynecologist, do I ever have to stop taking, hormone replacement therapy? And she said, absolutely not. So I'm going to go well into my 90s. My dad, lived 5 days short of 100. And I plan to go into, my 90s or 100 with, it's what you're giving back to your body is the hormones that it's missing. So it's very important that women understand that these 3 hormones rule your world,
your life.
Estrogen, so important, for everything, for your skin, for the way that you are able to, go on through life being yourself. You're just who you are has to do with your estrogen. And then progesterone sort of is like the parent, P for progesterone, parent. It slows the estrogen down, because with a lot of estrogen, you want to create, you want to be feminine. Your best feminine person is when your estrogen is balanced. And then the progesterone is the one that helps you, puts you to sleep, relaxes you, brings the reins down, and says, hey, slow down. When I've been a little extra in my life, like an extra, I describe myself as sometimes like an extra cupcake with too much frosting, way too much sprinkles on top, and then the berries way on top. When I find that I'm too much, I can go back to my gynecologist and say, is my estrogen too high? Maybe I need to adjust my progesterone. So it is a balance. It is tweaking, right? And then there's testosterone, which gives you the best libido of your life. Some women do not know that their testosterone levels are tanked throughout their entire puberty, when they're in the years of reproduction. They don't really know that. And then comes menopause, you get your hormones checked, and they tell you had no testosterone. And maybe that's why you always wanted to just stay home, play with the kids, and just never really did anything. Testosterone gives you the balls. And women, we have balls too. Yeah. They're called ovaries, but we have them. And so we need testosterone. And that's something that I learned, during menopause. I personally was tanked. I did not have testosterone until, the doctor said, I don't see it. I don't see the numbers. And I'm like, well, what do we do? So a little bit of in gel, you put it behind your knees, because wherever you put testosterone, hair is going to grow. You put it behind your knees, and then voila, I was able to open up, a huge wellness center. I had, 17 people working for me. It was the one time in my life that I thought, wow, had I done this earlier, you could rule the world with the right hormones.
Had I known.
You can rule the world.
Oh my God. So we will have podcast in August with a board certified OBGYN who's gonna particularly talk about hormone replacement therapy.
Wonderful.
So it's gonna be great. So I am dying to look at your food options and see what we can do. But I see 2 other little things here that are catching my eye.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you remembered. So I start my day also with this. At first I do my little shot, then I go exercise, and then I come back to this. So this is what I call my little royal shot, my little royalty shot. I make them in every single color. Sometimes they're red because of the beets being the most the most that I put in the blender. This one is ginger.
Oh, I love ginger.
It's got a little bit of pineapple. There's ginger, there's pineapple, there's kale, and there's one more ingredient, turmeric. So you have turmeric, ginger.
Inflammatory.
Yes, and a little bit of pineapple. And because I did this one especially for you because you had your surgery and you came out so good. But it's bursting with bromelain, which is in pineapple, and it's got the ginger. So it's very tasty. I put a tiny little bit also of honey, also, so it's very palatable. So you can go ahead and have that one. I waited to have mine with you today, so I'll go ahead and have mine.
I could be going.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
And a little tiny celery I put in there also for you. Yummy, right? So I make, these are called my little royal shots. And the reason being, I can't disclose too much, but I did have the opportunity to work for a princess of one of, the big countries. And I made these in every single color for her. And it was such it was the chef, her private chef was just so much fun. He helped me put them together, and we had them in purple and red, in orange and green, and I just make these. I'll have to
So is all of this in your
yes.
diet?
So there is everything is in there. I even have a way to make. I love popsicles. It's like talking back to your childhood. Loved popsicles growing up. I would wait for the ice cream man, and I would ask them, what was his flavor. I remember back in the day they had strawberry, and they had also the orange with the swirl. So I made the orange swirl with yogurt, the orangecicles, right? Mm-hmm. So you can make your popsicles, and we can have another podcast one day where I can show you.
Absolutely. You're definitely coming back to our podcast. That's no doubt about that.
So that was together. I'm so glad you liked it. And you had so many antioxidants that you can go ahead and you can just have a good old time. You can have a big steak, a nice glass of red wine, because you, my friend, are very protected.
Yes. Well, I'm not a big meat lover,
but I know you like your meat.
I like my meat, yeah. We recently had a great lunch together.
Thank you. That was so delicious. That was really wonderful.
Well, this has been fantastic, honestly. It really has. And you're definitely coming back to the podcast.
Thank you.
The whole idea behind Mari.trilogy is to empower women, but not only empower them, but educate them.
Yes.
Because there's so much ignorance, number one, and there's myths about this and about that, and I rather have people. I'm definitely not an expert in anything, but I love to bring people like yourself.
Thank you. And I love that you're doing this. And beyond the education, I think women need to reflect on changing behaviors, because a lot of us sometimes know what we have to do, but it becomes really difficult to do it. And ask yourself, what's holding me back?
Right.
Why is it that I'm not exercising? I get that all the time. Women who want to start exercising, they know they have to, they know it's good for them, but they're not doing it. And for that, I say, and this has worked like a charm over the years, little by little. If you start with baby steps and you go off, like, for example, I broke my foot and I could not run for 5 months and I was frustrated. So I get back into it by walking. I started walking first 5 minutes, down the street. The next day I did, another 15. The next day I had to come back because my foot hurt. It was 30 minutes. But you know what? On day 5, I was running down that street. So if you start little by little doing anything, if you're not eating healthy and if you're going, drive by every single day, your body, just like your face, just like your body is not a drive-through. You've got to think about the good things that will benefit your body. And if you can't get yourself to doing those things that you want to do, stop driving through, fast food. You want to start exercising. You want to start meditating and relaxing. You want to start, chilling and being, more at peace with yourself, being okay with whatever it is God gave you.
Being happy,
bringing down those cortisols. If your hair's curly, embrace it. If it's straight, embrace it. If your skin is whatever color, embrace it. If you've got freckles, you know what? If you've got cellulite, I have fallen in love, and I have helped women fall in love with their cellulite. It is so yummy and delicious. We see so much social media where I see all these bodies, and we all want to be, the best that we can be, especially when we put ourselves out there. And I always play around with the filters. I have such a good time. I laugh at myself. I'm like, oh my God, if I really look like this, but at the end of the day, if you really embrace your body, even if it's just for you behind closed doors, and you fall in love with your big butt, you fall in love with your boobs, whatever size they are, you fall in love with your waist, whether it's tiny or it's big, you fall in love with your legs and your thighs, and you teach your little ones to embrace and to love your body, I think we would have less diseases. I think that's where the trick is. And I think in the future, we will have research that says that because we aggravate ourselves so much with all the, needing to be like someone, needing to be so beautiful,
looking like a particular person. Have you noticed?
Absolutely.
People, they all look alike now.
And it's not an excuse.
There's no individuality.
It's not an excuse to go off and not, make yourself the best version of yourself either. It's not like you have to come out like you look like hell, but you do need to know in here that you are okay. See, I'm okay, you're okay. Yeah. And you're okay, I'm okay, you're okay. We're all okay. It's all okay. We're going to be okay. Yeah. That's a great book, by the way.
That's actually good. Great advice. Great advice. And I just posted after my surgery. I prolonged this thing to 10 years and finally decided to do it. And I was driving and I looked at my eyes and said, damn, it looks good.
You look great.
And then I said, I have to post something about this. I said, no more eye bag filters, because that was the first thing I did when I did anything. Took a picture, take the bags out of my eyes.
Yes.
No more.
And you got empowered and you did something that was for you.
Exactly.
And I talk to women all the time about that. If there is something that you don't like, go ahead and fix it.
Yeah.
If
nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that either. I love plastic surgery. I embrace it. And I think women should really take the time to analyze. First, embrace and love yourself no matter what. But if you want to change things, if you want to tweak things, by all means, it's just going to make you feel better as a person, and what you're going to put out there to the world. So
this is great. This is so much fun.